All right, so we have to remember not to identify with the old story, right? We've got to remember we've got to get over the habit of being ourselves, which means getting over the habit of being the old self. Because when we identify with the old self and the old self's thoughts and feelings and behaviors, then we're not identifying with the new self. So we've got to change the story. We've got to stop identifying with the old story and start identifying with the new story. And so that is seemingly difficult to do sometimes because we're so programmed to believe the opposite, that it has to be hard and not easy. And it can be easy. And we just have to program those new beliefs in and identify with the new story versus the old story. We have to disidentify with the old story. I'm going to keep saying that. The old story, the old story. It's perpetuated over and over because that's all we know. That's all we've been telling ourselves for so long, that that's what we believe. And so we just keep thinking the same way. And so I thought we'd talk about that today, and a little bit about consciousness and a couple other things. So if you're new here, thank you for being here. I'm Samantha, and I'm a therapist, and I'm doing a video every day for a year to get over my fear of public speaking and social anxiety. This is video 120 of 365. Haven't missed a day. And today I'm beginning to write my doctoral and PhD dissertation, doing 1 page a day for 100 days. That's the goal. Some days I might write more, but I just took my own advice from doing the video every day. I'm like, well, I can do a page a day. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, it begins today, and happy fall to everybody. Happy fall. I love fall. And yeah, new season, new you, right? New era of you. So get cozy, cuddle up on your couch, and take a listen for a little while, get a drink or a snack, and just kind of listen to my words. And then by the end of this, I hope you feel a little bit better, and I hope you can start implementing some of these things that I'm talking about, because they are so, so important to remember, and we have to keep programming ourselves to remember. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot what I learned yesterday. I'm not implementing it. And the more you implement something, the better off you're going to actually take it in and learn it and use it and become it. That's the goal, is to become it. And so you're already becoming your old self. You're already being your old self all the time. And so it's like, what are the things that you want to do to become brand new? We actually become brand new every second. We've got every moment that we can decide what to do with that moment. You only have one eternal now moment. We have nowhere to go. There's no hurry. We're here forever in consciousness. Now, in this body, we're not here forever. And that would be weird, wouldn't it? In the same body forever? That would be a little strange. But we're consciousness, having a human experience. So when you're consciousness, you're basically observing yourself. You're as consciousness, being yourself. Like, it's really strange. Like, we're just consciousness. We're not really us per se. We're all one. We just look like we're separate, having this experience as being separate. And it's just, it's so over the head. Someday I'll do some videos on quantum physics and consciousness, more into consciousness, but I want to keep it very simple. I like to keep things very simple because there's so much confusing material out there, and it's nobody's fault. It's just everybody's got their own way of teaching things, and some of it is just more advanced maybe than other people want to even delve in. So I try to make things as simple as possible so anybody could learn this and implement it. But it's basically just, when you're feeling bad, that means you're off track a little bit. So you're either on track or off track. We can look at it like that. Now, you're really on track no matter if you feel like you're on track or not. You're always on the right path, always. It just feels like you're not because you're experiencing it as you're not. So when you think of your thoughts as a frequency, for instance, or, you're emitting this signal from your body, from your being, you're emitting this to the universe, and you're saying, I don't feel chosen or I don't feel important, you're emitting that signal. And so anything on that sort of wavelength is going to be attracted back to you. And you'll see in your world, you'll see in your life those types of things mirrored back to you because people will behave in those ways toward you. Not everyone, but you'll see patterns. So I really encourage you to like look for the patterns of what you're, and for the goal of looking for what you're actually identifying with. That's what we want to find. What are the definitions that you're making things mean? Because when you're in one identity, a certain identity, you're going to think a certain way. So you're going to use your thoughts to create these meanings and beliefs about things and people and events. And so when you're in that identity, you're going to identify with those things. But when you shift an identity, you're not even going to think those same thoughts that you were thinking in the old identity. You're going to be thinking new thoughts, which are going to turn into new beliefs and new belief systems. And so you're going to identify with totally brand new things. And so that's kind of how that identity shift works. It's like when you know your patterns, you can change them. Dr. Phil always said, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Well, that's true. That's very, very true. And so you have to acknowledge like what in me could be creating these patterns? What are the long-standing beliefs that I've been thinking on a daily basis all the time and believing about myself? I notice the most self-deprecating thoughts that people have about themselves. Like, I was watching a video about this guy, and he was his name's Damon Darling. If you ever want to check him out, he's super funny. And he goes to like Walmarts and stuff and does all these little skit kind of, or not skits, but like just like a social experiment type of thing. And then he pays for people's groceries and all this stuff. And he was just like complimenting this older lady one day, and he was just being really nice to her. And you could tell that she could not handle being told she was beautiful. She couldn't handle being told she was a nice person. Couldn't handle a compliment in general. And you could see that her defense went up, like, no, I'm not beautiful. No, I'm not what you're saying that I am. And so she was identifying as being less than, basically. And he's telling her she's not less than, of course. And so when you're feeling less than, you're not going to accept compliments very well. You're going to think that you're not capable of doing things. So you're in that identity of like not being good enough. And so that was created from so long ago. It's not even funny. It happened when you were probably a kid. And then you just had events that happened throughout life that just made it kind of solidify. Like, yeah, it's true. I am not good enough because my ex-husband did this to me, or my ex-wife did this to me, or my friends always leave me, or whatever the case is. You know, there's always something in your adult life that will mirror your childhood, because those beliefs are created normally before we're about age 7. About age 6, the personality is pretty formed. And 0 to 3 are like the most formative years of our personalities. And that's whenever we attach to our primary caregivers that we have around us, and we start to trust or not trust the world. And so age 0 to 3 is super important for bonding and things like that. Just, naturally in nature. So when we don't have those things, our brains will make meaning. Even when we're a baby, there is a form of mental health called infant mental health, and infants can actually experience feelings of depression. And they'll do things like hold their breath until they turn blue. They can actually, babies are very manipulative. They get what they want all the time by crying and screaming. And so, yeah, it's natural. It's just nature, and it's innate. And so, if we're not taken care of properly, our needs aren't met as a child, then we're going to have this belief and meaning made from our little brains that says, I must not be important because I'm not being taken care of. Or we might have one parent that does take very good care and then the other one doesn't. And so it's very confusing. So then on one hand, we feel great about ourselves, but on the other hand, we don't feel great about ourselves. So this creates the identity of, I'm loved when I earn love. You know, when I do great on my schoolwork, I'm loved. And when I don't, well, then I'm not loved. And that carries on into marriages and relationships where we feel like we have to earn love or earn acceptance and we can't just be ourselves. And I think that that's an issue that as society has. It's just like we can't be ourselves. And that's what kept me from doing YouTube for so long. I was like, man, I just don't want to be judged. And, and then I shifted my identity and I was like, I don't care if somebody judges me because they don't know my heart. And I kept telling myself that. And I tell people to think that way. It's like, no one knows your heart, like your true heart. You could be behaving like the biggest jerk and you have the best heart. And nobody's going to know because they're interpreting how you're acting as being a jerk or whatever the case is. But you might have this huge heart that you're just too scared to show people. And so I think that it's super important to just be yourself, not be scared to be yourself. And that's also part of an identity shift. It's like I said, I had to shift my identity to do YouTube. I had to say, no, I'm no longer afraid of being on camera. I'm going to just do this. This is just part of my daily life. This is what I do. And it slowly started to change me. And as of, I think tomorrow, I'll be literally a third into this whole journey. And it has been a journey of it's working on me. I'm not working on it. It is crazy. It will teach you so many things about yourself that you don't even know what it's teaching you until you know. And then you're like, oh, you just wake up one day and you feel differently about certain things. And so the identity is super important because you're creating everything from that identity. And so I want you to think about what is your identity? What do you identify with? I am not chosen. I am unworthy. I'm not good enough. There's so many people that don't feel good enough. And that's why I gave that little assignment yesterday about the mirror work, how you look in the mirror in your eyes and just look in your eyes and tell yourself, yeah, I've been carrying this story about being not good enough. And I really am good enough. I'm great enough, actually. I'm perfect the way that I am. I don't need to change anything about myself. All I need to do is believe these things I'm saying to myself and identify with that new story now. And I don't have to carry this old stuff around anymore. We're carrying too much. And I'm giving you permission to put it down. You do not have to carry anything. In fact, if you feel exhausted and you feel like you're carrying too much, you're probably carrying stuff that belongs to other people. And we can't manage others' emotions. We have to manage our own emotions and our own patterns. And it's super important to figure out what meanings am I giving and what am I assuming. That's the law of assumption, of course. It's what we assume is going to be projected out into reality, and like a mirror. Everything is a mirror to you. So what you're doing inside here is going to be projected out here. And so there's nothing to change but yourself inside, internally. We do not want to look externally for anything to validate us. We will be validated, which is the crazy, paradox of all this. It's like when you don't need it, here it comes. But it's like when you need it and you want it so badly, you could just die. Here it comes. Or no, it's not actually going to come then. It's going to be pushed away. But it's like when you don't need it, here it comes. So it's amazing how that works. But it's force. When you're trying to force and control something, you push it away more. It's just kind of how energy works. So you want to start really identifying with, okay, this is the new story that I want to start telling. I had a awesome subscriber ask 2 questions, and I'll see if I can remember them. But one of them was about the hot stove that I mentioned a few videos back and yesterday, I think. So I mentioned the hot stove is kind of like a symbol. You've got this hot stove. And you got this hot stove, and I feel like when you touch the hot stove, it's like you can look at it as that's the old story that you're just gonna believe. Like I'm just gonna there's that old feeling, that old belief. I'm just gonna put my hand on the stove, or I'm gonna sit on the stove and just kind of sit there for a while and let it burn me. Because all of those old thoughts and that old story are burning you. If you want to look at it like that, it's just kind of like a metaphor. And look at it as a symbol. Like it's a hot stove. It's a symbol. And so if you go back to the hot stove over and over again, it's like you're going back to the old story over and over again, getting burned. So you want to gently guide yourself over to the new story and say, no, we are this now. Like a little child, you're grabbing their hand away from the stove and say, yeah, this is the new story we're going to tell here, over here, over here. And you're breaking the habit of being your old self, just like Joe Dispenza says. We've got to break that habit because it's just a habit. But the funny thing is, once you know it's a habit, it's not a habit anymore. It's a choice. You're choosing everything from now on. Like once you identify a habit and a pattern, no excuses anymore. You're making a choice because you know about it now. You're conscious and aware of it. So that's what I want you guys to get to is like, what are my patterns? And how do I stop identifying with this? How do I do that? And it's just a slow progression of changing what you're identifying with and what you're assuming is true about yourself. And someday I'll talk about, specific people and relationships. I will get into that, I promise. The other question was about addictions, like how do you get over addictions and things like that. I don't specialize in addiction, but I've been around plenty of people who have been addicted to something. And I think we're all addicted to something in general, like whether it's food or, anything. Watching YouTube, that might be an addiction for some people. Be careful with that one. Any addiction is really, you're looking outside yourself to fulfill a need inside. So an addiction is always seen as a problem, but it's actually a solution to a problem is what it is. So people are looking to do drugs or drink because they don't feel good enough most of the time. They don't feel good. And they were looking outside externally to just fill this need that they had inside. Also, if they were around people that were addicted to something, that was kind of programmed into them. So they'll, you monkey see, monkey do kind of a thing. Like whatever is programmed in your imagination, in your subconscious, will permeate the subconscious. And you'll be like, I don't know why I do this. And then you find out that, their mom did it before. And they saw that over and over. So whatever you see so much will permeate your subconscious mind. So I can do videos on addiction later on as well, but that's just kind of like my way of explaining addiction on the surface. It's just a solution to a problem that's inside. It's internal. And we're identifying with, I am this, I am an alcoholic, or I am an addict, or, I have this issue. That's an identity. And so it's really about deciding, and some people can just decide overnight. And some people need a year. Some people need 10 years. Esther Hicks said, somebody asked like, well, how long will it be till I get my stuff? And she's like, well, it could be 10 minutes or never, depending on how you change internally, how your beliefs and thoughts and everything shifts. It's up to you to decide that. It's up to you. And when I heard her say 10 minutes or never, I was like, man, it really is in our best interest to change the way we're seeing things, especially how we're seeing ourselves and what we think we deserve and who we are inside and who we're being. And so my ultimate goal is to be loving as much as possible, like be the example of unconditional love. I still have work to do in that area. I'm not perfect. We all still have these habits of judging people or, lowering our frequency down. We still all struggle with this in some areas, I'm sure. We're not going to be perfect at this because we are human for a reason. We came here to experience other humans and other things. But my goal is to be as unconditionally loving towards myself first, and then I can start emanating that out to others as much as possible. Because once you unconditionally love yourself, then you see the world differently. And your identity your identity shifted already if you've already loved yourself. I mean, you've already shifted that. But we have an identity in relation to everything. It's like you got to just watch what you're telling yourself, watch your inner conversations, watch your mind activity. What is it doing? Your mental activity during the day. Think of it as like, okay, I've got mental activity going on. And so observe it. Observe your thoughts and then go about your day. Just enjoy your day, but just kind of observe what you're thinking about. Be curious about it. And you're looking at everything as data. So everything that you're noticing is just data about yourself. That's all that it is. Just notice it. You don't have to do any work. It's just like, just notice and really take it in. And then remember, you're imagining all day long. So watch what you're consuming. Watch what you're listening to, what you're hearing, what you're participating in. Like if you're participating in gossip, like really watch out for that stuff. It seems so small, but it wouldn't be in your reality if it weren't there to show you who you're being. So really check in with that. Like, who am I being? Why is this person showing up this way? Really, why is this person showing up this way? Like, what was I thinking about that might have made this person say these things? Look at them, as I've said before, look at people as a blob of energy teaching you something. No one is your friend or your spouse or anything other than they're your teacher. They're just teaching you something about you. And I love that. I think it's so cool how everything just comes back to ourselves. And I think most people are scared to look at themselves. And I think it is the most priceless thing we can do is really get in touch with who we are. And like I've said before, what you appreciate appreciates. So start appreciating yourself so that you appreciate. And others will follow you if they're meant to follow you for their own, experience. And you just be the example because you're with yourself 24/7, no matter what you have on the outside, no matter what is given to you, no matter what you manifest, no matter what you create, no matter what shows up, you're still with yourself 24/7. So you've got to remember that that relationship is the most important one you'll ever, ever, ever have. And so when you're honest with yourself and you respect yourself and you start saying nice things to yourself, you're going to change. You're like 100% going to change. And then you're going to start working on the other people. But the first thing is to work on you first. And then you can start from a place of a good foundation where you've built this great foundation of a home, let's say, or a house, whatever you want to call it, instead of on sand, where it might fall into the sand and the quicksand, and you can't see it anymore. It's gone. It's basically just dilapidated and gone. You've got this good foundation set to build a good structured building on. And the building is you. And you're worth that. So you got to just remember that every day is a new day to decide what you're going to do. Like, just like with writing my dissertation, like, does it sound fun to me? Not really. But guess what? I've got to identify with something different than I am identifying with because I associate it with stress right now. And so I made it fun by saying, I'm going to do a page every day. And if I do more, that's great. But in 100 days, I'll be done. Technically, like, just have to polish some things up, I'm sure. But in 100 days, I'll be done. 100 days are going to go by anyway. So I might as well just do something productive that's good for me to do. And so I just recommend you guys really remember that you can choose to be brand new at any moment that you want to be. And you do not have to identify with anything that happened to you yesterday, ever. And you got to look inside and say, what am I making this mean about me? If I'm seeing this way, that means that I have a definition somewhere that I've got to figure out because this is what I'm identifying with because of my thoughts and beliefs. And then your identity will shift once your meanings and definitions change every time. So keep that in mind and just practice some of these things. I know I kind of overloaded you in this video, I think, today. I just went on a rant and a ramble again. I wasn't meaning to make it this long. I don't even know how long it is. I'm assuming it's longer than normal. But, well, thank you for watching. And I so appreciate you guys. We hit 500 subscribers yesterday. So thank you so much. I'm over 500 now. And I am monetized at the first level. YouTube approved me today. So that was pretty cool. So I just need, 500 more and I'll be fully monetized. But yeah, thank you all for being here with me. This is so cool. I just love this. This is one of my little dreams to do this. So thank you all for being a part of it. And I want you guys to make your dreams come true too. So start with the mirror. Look in that mirror and let me know if any of this has helped you. And please share this with somebody who might benefit from hearing this. And please like and subscribe if you'd like to. And I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.